Welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge, your front row seat to the boldest ideas and smartest strategies in the marketing game. Your host is Reed Hansen, Chief Growth Officer at MarketSurge.
Hello and welcome to Inside Marketing with MarketSurge. And today we're diving deep into the world of SEO, but not the stale keyword stuffing SEO you've heard 1,000 times before. I'm joined by Jesse Ringer, founder and CEO of Method and Metric, a SEO agency built on creativity, data, and ethics. With over a decade of experience helping business owners, entrepreneurs, and marketing teams craft winning SEO strategies, Jesse is known for turning complex search algorithms into simple, actionable growth strategies. He's not just about rankings, he's about results, progress, and building the kind of digital presence that drives businesses forward. Today, we're going to unpack what's really working in SEO, where most businesses are wasting their efforts, and how to think about search in a way that's actually genuine and human. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks, Reed. That was a great intro. Thanks.
Well, I find that things get off to a really good start when I, fluff up the guest. Not that you needed any boosting. You do some really impressive work. So let's start with your story. So how did you get into SEO initially, and and then how did that turn into Method and Metric?
Yeah, I think I got into SEO in a very similar way that most SEO folk get into the industry, in that I was trying to find my footing in a marketing career. I think I'd always had a passion for like copywriting, and Mad Men was at its peak. So I thought working at an ad agency would be the way to go. But it was shortly after the 2008 financial crisis. And so a lot of people were not hiring. And I was doing copywriting for various brands and local things here in Vancouver. And, whenever a client or person had some feedback, they'd be like, I don't like your writing. I didn't really have a good recourse. And I'd kind of gravitated to SEO like in my schooling, and realized that through data and through analytics that I kind of found my voice in terms of being like, well, if you don't like my writing, fine, but it also generate, several $1,000s of revenue. It brought in all this traffic. So although you might not like the writing, it's proving to be quite effective. And so as a new person in like kind of the marketing world, SEO and analytics kind of really helped me gain confidence and kind of find my footing in this industry. And so from the early going, I'd always been doing this consulting work, contracting work, and it kind of grew organically. Sorry for the pun, but like it grew from that. And I got to a certain point where I was at a party with a friend who had a software company, and he was like, if you were an agency, we could send you some big clients. And the next day I went and kind of incorporated and started to build an agency beyond just myself. And that's kind of how Method and Metric was born.
That's awesome. Well, this might be the first SEO person I've heard refer to Don Draper, so I think that's a first for our show. That
Great.
Great show, troubled character there.
Yeah, for sure. Style though, like all of that, There's a lot about that show that beyond Don Draper being like, this is what I want to be like.
Yeah.
And now I look at myself, I'm like, oh, I'm nothing like that. So I don't know what happened, but here we are.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what would Don Draper be doing today? I mean, would he have like some LLM, or would he be like a cryptocurrency guy?
Yeah, crypto bro. Yeah, for sure. I could see that. Absolutely. Just full into it.
Yeah. He was, we'll see. He was pretty trendy.
Yeah.
So, sorry, back to SEO, and I'm sorry for the little divergence, but now you talk about the democratization. I wrote it down, but I didn't practice pronouncing that. Democratization of technology. Yeah. So what does that mean to you in SEO and digital marketing, typically?
Yeah, I think there's this assumption that data and information, I mean, it is a currency at this point. You know, you can look at Google and how much they're hoarding information, and how much data they have on people. Facebook, Meta is another great example of that. But there are a ton of tools and opportunities for regular folk to amass and gather information about their audience or about, you know, certain industries, and be able to leverage that for their own business. They don't need to be, you know, a multi-billion-dollar business. You know, the information is out there for people to gather, and I think
Jesse, can I pause you just 1 second? I might have to ask that question again. Somehow your mic muted itself. I don't know if it got disconnected or... Yeah, there, you're back.
strange. Okay.
Yeah.
I
So,
can,
yeah, do you mind if I ask you that question again?
not at all.
Sorry, it was you were a couple sentences in, and then all of a sudden it just muted. All right. Fortunately, we're not live, so
Great.
I'll just ask the question again. So you talk about the democratization of technology, and what would you say that means to you? You know, from your purview in SEO, and then also broadly in digital marketing.
Yeah, I think that, you know, there's so much data out in the world, you know, and a lot of businesses have turned this into a currency. You can see like what Meta and Google have done, with their access to information. But I think for a lot of regular folk and business owners and companies out there, there's so much information that we can leverage to improve, you know, not only like our offerings and the products that we sell, but like how we communicate with our audiences. And I think that not enough businesses take advantage of that. And when we work with clients, we really want to bring in that kind of idea that there is so much data out there to better understand your audience and your ideal customers, that you really should be trying to put that into use so that you are, you know, optimizing your business processes, you know, choosing the right products, choosing the right services, and communicating that in a way that is most effective.
Yeah. And you know, as you're talking, you're starting to remind me less of Don Draper and more of like Billy Bean from Moneyball. I don't know if you've seen
Oh
that movie,
yeah.
but you know, like particularly, you know, your example earlier of content that maybe your client didn't like, but was generating revenue. And
Yeah.
but you know what's funny too, I've observed in the agency space is sometimes even when you show them the data that it's converting, you know, that's like more effective, this approach, they still won't do
Yeah.
it, you know. Like,
No, and you know, like that's true. Like but man, it's we think that we are really devoid of emotion when we're making business decisions, or we're aiming to be like that. And it's impossible. You know, even when you see information that contradicts your worldview or a business opportunity, like if you think it's going to be good, like it's hard to turn that off. You know, our lived experiences create a system in which, like, I know that this is going to work, even if there's data that supports the other side of it, saying
yeah,
that it won't. So it's very hard, and I've seen it thousands of times with our clients and other business owners. You know, entrepreneurship will have information, like be like, no, this is a bad idea, and be like, nope, we're going for it. And you know, on the flip side of that, people will be like, that is a bad idea, and then you watch it work. And so it's really challenging. And when you have limited resources, I think data is a very good baseline for making a decision, and then using your own experiences and your own knowledge to kind of like push ahead and figure out how to make that work.
yeah, yeah. No, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I guess sometimes I've been in the client position where I'm like, I don't want to do this. And it does take a little bit of mental exertion to sometimes
Oh yeah.
listen to the data. Well, so let's talk about SEO a little bit. You you've been doing this for a while, and so you've seen a lot of changes in the internet, and how Google ranks sites, and now like AI is everywhere and really affecting things. So what would you say is, we'll come to the AI part later, but and today, what would you say is the biggest misconception that a lot of businesses have about SEO?
Hmm.
Anything that you like a
Yeah.
problem or challenge you keep seeing over and over?
Yeah, this has been I'm gonna say a challenge that I've faced probably since before I had Method and Metric, was that people see SEO as a siloed marketing initiative. That it is one thing, it is creating content to show up in Google, and bundled with that, that it is a silver bullet for everything that they're doing. That you write 10 blog posts, you're going to make millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And that isn't true. It's much, obviously my opinion's biased, but I think that having a website that is well optimized serves everything else that you do. From your social media to your, offline and out of home efforts to podcasting and PR, like everything goes to your website at this point. And if that's not optimized for an ideal experience for your customers, all the other things are going to fall flat. And so I think that that's one misconception, is that people think that SEO exists in a silo and it has no other benefit other than to rank well in Google.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's well said. So let's jump to the AI piece of this now. Even people that haven't been doing anything about SEO, are asking questions like, well, so, how do I rank in ChatGPT searches, or how do I, they're hearing about, the AI generated text that's coming up in a lot of Google searches, and wondering how to deal with that. So how would you say it's reshaped your approach? Is it a big part, or are the fundamentals still the same? What would you say?
I think it's somewhere in between.
Okay.
I'm gonna hedge on this answer
Yeah,
because I
please.
think
Yeah.
it's both of those things. It's like, if you're choosing to ignore AI and its impact on the search industry, I think that is you're failing. You won't survive if you don't adapt. I don't like saying you're gonna die because it's not fatal, but like you're gonna have a really hard time, and that's kind of where, like, yes, you have to learn to figure out how consumers and your clients are using these platforms now, like ChatGPT, Claude, what have you, Google's, AI overviews. How are people interacting with those things? Because at the end of the day, that behavior is going to shift how people think about your brand and think about how they conduct business. I don't think AI is going to take over search. There's a lot of data right now that's showing that like people are using both of them equally. But at the same time, like, how do you ensure that your brand, whether it is, a Fortune 500 or, a one person shop, how do you ensure that your brand and your information is getting into those answers? Because that's where people are going. And maybe that's not going to last forever, but it's a big part of that. But to answer your point about the algorithms, I think that AIs, and I don't think the AI things are just predictive text on steroids. It's answering what it thinks you want to hear, and it's using word after word after word. And so you can kind of use old school SEO tactics to help perform there. And you can also train these AIs to show your content a bit more by asking it questions about what it thinks your brand does and things like that. So I don't know where it's going to go, but for right now, we're using the same kind of ideas to adapt our SEO strategies so that they can also work well in the AI world.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And I mean, that's been my experience as well. I'm not that, nobody has like the magic bullet. It's like, here, throw away your traditional search, do all these new activities to now rank in AI. It's,
Yeah.
I think um,
Yeah.
the activities are the same, but
Yeah. The other thing too about this is like it's shifted how like how we think about content and how we think about marketing because you can just go to ChatGPT and be like, hey, give me a business plan, or hey, write me 1,000 paid word blog post on this topic, and people are like, that's good enough. And I think what we're seeing is that that good enough is really dragging down the average and is allowing people that are writing content for other people to like really lift up and like do better with their marketing efforts than someone who's just phoning it in with a ChatGPT blog post.
yeah, no, that's I agree. So Jesse, you're a data guy, and one of the tricky things with SEO, pitching it, whether you're the marketer inside an organization or from the outside as an SEO consultant, is, well, how am I even going to tell that you're making progress? And then there's also the concerns of SEO there's a lot of data to track, and some of it is, what people are calling like vanity metrics, and some of it is actually really relevant. What are some of the metrics that you think are most effective for a business? And I know it'll vary from business to
Yeah.
business, but if you have some examples of,
Yeah.
like data that isn't just a vanity metric in this,
Yeah. Yeah. My view on metrics and so is like it's greatly shifted in 2025. There's way more vanity metrics than there were before. And that's because like impressions and visibility don't lead to more revenue. And so I think at the end of the day, revenue is obviously the biggest and best metric to measure. Um, whether you are e-commerce or product-based service, like revenue is huge. If you're service-based, again, lead scoring, lead quality are very important. Average order value, average cart size, how many orders you're getting, those things are really important. And then, to a lesser extent now, clicks, I think, are on the cusp of becoming almost irrelevant. Like, yes, we want to see traffic. Yes, that's very important. But if all that traffic doesn't convert, if no one's buying from you, like, then you just have a hobby and not a business. So that's one thing that like anything before clicks, like ranking spots, because those are changing constantly, especially with AI overviews. Like the keyword tracking tools now say you rank number one, but you rank like number 1.5 out of 10 within that AI overview, and that's quite problematic. Impressions, I think, are pretty, more or less like just useless at this point, because even if show up in a Google search result, you're competing now against like 20 different links, not just 10. And so clicks would be the first kind of interactive behavior that we would consider like this is a metric that we would measure. But engagement, and quality of leads and quality of like the sales initiatives are probably the biggest things that we care about now.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's very helpful. Do you find that you get? I mean, do you find that the clients are evolving with you, or is it kind of a tough sell sometimes? Or
Slowly, like yeah, the ones that are really into this do pay attention. On the paid media side, we have clients that like focus on cost per conversion a lot, rather than like return on ad spend or say like average order value. Like there's certain, like they almost say the same thing, but they all are kind of different and they all produce different results. So I think one thing that we're doing with our clients is just making sure that we're aligned. If they care about average order value, but we're only caring about actual like total revenue, there's still going to be a disconnect. So we're trying to meet them in the middle often. And so there, yeah, I think anyone now doing business online has to be aware of data and analytics. You can't just hope that, producing content or, I don't know, improving your checkout process is going to have an impact without any understanding of what your audience wants. So yeah, it's kind of like meeting them in the middle and bringing them along so that they don't feel like they've been, excluded from that decision, because they're going to care about things way differently than we do.
Right.
And so we have to consider that as well.
Okay. So, a lot of people in my audience are in the small and medium-sized business space, and I know you've worked with the whole range. You've worked with really big companies as well. Do you think that SEO is becoming more or less accessible for like small and medium-sized businesses?
Good question. I think it's becoming more accessible.
Okay.
I think that small business owners can, and companies with like small marketing teams can get quite far with SEO before it gets into like the really nitty-gritty technical stuff. I think content is still hugely important. I think linking, site architecture, those kinds of things are really impactful for the search algorithm, and being active on social media and things like that really do boost things, especially now in the age of AI. So I think that it's more accessible, and there's way more like free resources and more information than ever before. And so I think that if people and business owners are keen to do it, it's all there for them. And yeah, so I don't think it's becoming less restrictive. It's becoming more competitive for sure.
Sure.
But I mean, I think that is a benefit, and it ensures that you're finding the right audience and building a very tight, solid strategy.
That's awesome. Yeah, and really good to hear. I'm sure some aspects, like you said, the competition is greater. Maybe there's and that makes the details, the like dotting the I's and crossing the T's, more and more important. But I agree with you. I think there's like a lot of AI enabled things that can help, and a lot of vendors in the space. You don't have to have a computer science degree to do it. And
no. I have a marketing certificate. Like, I don't have computer science background. I took communications. You can learn this stuff. Like got a lot of my learning from the early days of Twitter. Yeah. Like there's so many people out there that love to share their knowledge. And I think now like Reddit is kind of like the platform for that too. Like people will be like, hey, I have this problem. And literally like people from Google and like folks that have been in this industry for decades will be like, well, this is how you solve that. And so there's so much info out there and so much resources, and SEO folk love to share their knowledge. We love, I don't know, there's something about it.
Yeah.
It's different than other industries for sure.
Maybe it's a little bit more, maybe the nature of the backlinks, maybe that makes it just a more collaborative community, maybe.
Maybe. And like, it's all about credibility and trust, and like, it's a very experimental space.
Sure.
So people, I don't know. I just remember it, and I still see it. Like, people are just like, oh, Google changed this today. Like, here's the volatility chart for keyword rankings. Like, everyone's like, algorithm update. This is what we're seeing. And it's super helpful. So I think it's always there. I think it's just, obviously as a business owner, you don't have infinite time and your attention goes everywhere. But if you can dedicate some energy towards your SEO, it'll serve everything for sure.
Awesome. Well, Jesse, you've got so much, there's so much value here in what you shared. Now, if somebody would like to work with you, as a SEO consultant, or maybe they'd love to just connect with you and learn more, what are the best places to find you?
I mean, our website is probably the easiest place to get in contact, methodandmetric.com. I'm also very active on LinkedIn. You can find me there. And we kind of dabble a bit in Blue Sky, but that's still kind of new. But our website and LinkedIn for sure.
Fantastic. Well, I'll include those links in the show notes. Thank you so much for joining us, Jesse, and I look forward to future collaborations.
Yeah, thanks, Reed. This was a great conversation. Thanks for having me.
Want to stay ahead of what's actually working in marketing right now? Head over to MarketSurge.io and see how we're helping businesses grow smarter, faster, and louder. That's MarketSurge.io, because your next breakthrough shouldn't be a guess.